Lydia raised me, so when she asked me to take the fall for Evan, I didn't say no. She said, Jason, just do your time. When you get out, I'll marry you. 3 years later, I was released from prison. On the day of the lavish wedding she'd prepared for me, with all the guests watching, I stood on the highest overpass on the riverfront and jumped. Lydia, I don't want to marry you this time. I was out of prison. 3 years had passed in the blink of an eye. The one thing that hadn't changed was the Port City Police Precinct, its entrance as imposing as ever. The 2 stone lions standing guard out front were a monument to fairness and justice. Snowflakes drifted down, just like they had on that winter night 3 years ago. Overnight, I went from a star student at a prestigious university to a murderer everyone feared. It was my 18th birthday, the day I became an adult, but not a mature one. Evan, furious that Lydia was throwing a private birthday party for me, got drunk, drove, and killed someone. When Lydia and I arrived at the scene, all we saw was the victim covered in blood and Evan on his knees, his hair a mess, completely terrified. He gripped the hem of Lydia's dress, his voice choked and breaking. Lydia, what do I do? What do I do? I didn't mean to. She ran right into me. Even then, Evan couldn't see his own fault. He just kept pointing at the dead woman and screaming, "It's not my fault. She ran into me. She ran into me. She was crazy. She deserved to die. Shut up." Lydia slapped him across the face, and he finally quieted down a little. In that moment, his eyes locked onto me, and a dark premonition washed over me.
Evan's attitude flipped instantly.
He was suddenly desperate to repent, crying like a child as he clung to Lydia's waist. "Lydia, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please save me. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to die." Lydia pinched the bridge of her nose, exhausted, but her hand never stopped patting Evan's back, a silent comfort. After a long moment, she seemed to make up her mind. "Evan, when you make a mistake, you have to pay the price." Evan stared at her, stunned and disbelieving. "What do you mean? You want me to go to jail?" Lydia looked at him with a flicker of pity, her voice weary as she paused. "Go turn yourself in. I'll do everything I can to give the victim's family a bigger settlement and help reduce your sentence. I promise you won't be in for long." Evan shoved her away like a madman, screaming, "No, I won't. There has to be another way. You just don't want to save me. Evan, listen to me." Lydia reached for him, but he slapped her hand away. "Evan, it's not that I don't want to save you. I'll get you the best lawyer to fight your case. Just listen to me, okay?" Evan had grown up by Lydia's side, spoiled like a little prince, and had never known a day of hardship. Prison was a death sentence to him. No matter how Lydia tried to reason with him, he wouldn't hear it. Evan's family had done Lydia a great service, so she'd always been a bit soft on him. He always got what he wanted. The moment he turned his gaze on me, I was consumed by dread. A cruel smile spread across Evan's face. "Lydia, who said there isn't another way?" Lydia frowned at him. "What way?" "Just have Jason take the fall for me. Problem solved, right?" Evan pointed at me. "When the cops get here, just tell them he was the one who was drunk driving." "You bastard!" Before Evan could finish, Lydia slapped him twice more. "Evan, what are you saying?" I raised him. For a split second, I actually felt a wave of relief. I thought there was no way she would agree to his insane demand. "Bullshit, he's not." Evan clutched his face and snarled. "He's just some stray you picked up. Don't think he can just slap the Vance family name on himself. Do you really think he just wants to be your adopted son?" "What do you mean?" Lydia asked him. "He's in love with you, obviously," Evan said, turning to me. "Jason, am I right? Jason, is what he's saying true?" In that moment, I stared at her, speechless. I did love Lydia, and not just as a guardian. I just never thought Evan would be the one to figure it out. "Jason, you like my sister, don't you? You go to jail for me, and I'll give you my blessing. I'll let you marry into our family." Evan said it with a smirk. "Jason, you're not going to refuse to help with a little thing like this, are you? When did my marriage become your business?" Lydia's cold voice cut him off. "You are going to turn yourself in. You made a mistake and you'll do the time. You're gonna get yourself right in there. I thought that, for once, Lydia was finally being fair in how she treated me and Evan. But how could I forget? I was just a stray she'd picked up off the street. Raising me until I was 18 was more than I could have ever asked for. Just as the wail of police sirens grew closer, Evan played his trump card. Lydia, didn't you promise my dad you'd take care of me for the rest of my life? Lydia hesitated. In the few moments she stood there, lost in thought, the police arrived. The rain was coming down hard that day. A landslide had occurred in the area a few days prior. The road barriers were damaged, and the surrounding security cameras hadn't been repaired yet. The smell of alcohol on Evan was faint, almost washed away by the rain. But me? He had poured the remaining half bottle of red wine from his car all over my body, my face, my mouth, and my nose. Lydia watched Evan do it, too stunned to speak. Because she owed him. Evan's father had died saving her, and she felt a deep guilt toward his son. Why didn't I try to stop him? Because I owed Lydia. When she found me in a dumpster, I was half dead. If it weren't for her, I would have died right there. She saved my life. She raised me for 8 years, gave me food and shelter, and sent me to the best schools. When she silently allowed Evan to do this to me, I knew it was time for me to repay my debt to her. Rain and red wine mixed together. It was hard to tell which there was more of. When the police arrived, the smell on me was overpowering. The 3 of us were taken in. Lydia had no trace of alcohol on her. The scent was strongest on me. Evan only had a faint whiff. From every angle of the investigation, I was the prime suspect. No one spoke up for me, and I confessed to the DUI. The outcome was sealed. Lydia hired the best lawyer for me, and who knows how much money she gave the victim's family. In the end, I was sentenced to 3 years in prison. At an age where I was both an adult and not, on my 18th birthday, cold handcuffs snapped around my wrists. All the panic, all the joy, all the love and lack of it, it all vanished into thin air. I became a young man feared by all, a murderer. The day I went to prison, Lydia came to see me. Jason, you do your time and get yourself right. When you get out, I'll marry you. That day, she whispered in my ear, Jason, I'm sorry. Lydia Vance, owe you for this. Maybe it was out of guilt, but for the next 3 years, Lydia never visited me again. She came to pick me up when I was released. It was the first time we'd seen each other in 3 years. Jason, I'm taking you home. Lydia took the bag from my hands. Inside were a few sets of clothes I'd worn after being locked up. It was the same bag she'd bought for me 3 years ago, the one I'd carried with me the day I went to prison. It was filthy now, but for once, the ever-meticulous Lydia didn't seem to mind. As we got to her car, I instinctively moved to get in the back seat, just like I always had. Lydia grabbed my wrist, her voice soft. Jason, sit in the front. No, it's fine, Lydia. I glanced at the passenger seat. That was always Evan's spot. I gently pulled my hand away, got into the back on my own, and placed my hands neatly on my knees. Lydia gave a small laugh. Jason, it's been a few years. You don't call me sis anymore? I used to take advantage of how good she was to me, deliberately copying Evan and calling her that. It made my secret crush on her feel a little less wrong. Lydia was only 8 years older than me. When I was 10, she was 18, and she took me home. But on my own 18th birthday, to repay her kindness, I took the fall for Evan and went to prison. Sometimes I feel like fate played a huge joke on me. I clenched my fists, fighting back the bitterness rising in my throat. I was just a kid then. I know better now. Lydia didn't say anything. We drove the rest of the way to the Vance estate in silence. Lydia opened the car door for me, gently helping me out. Jason, welcome home. Seeing the red lanterns hung both inside and outside the mansion, I vaguely realized it must be the new year. Lydia's parents had already told the staff to prepare a huge feast. During the meal, they kept piling food onto my plate. I couldn't get used to this kind of attention. My chopsticks slipped and fell to the floor. I tensed up automatically. Evan, sitting next to me, sneered. Figures. Guy's never seen anything. A little time in prison and he forgets how to even hold chopsticks. Shut up. If you don't want to eat, get out. Lydia snapped, and Evan immediately fell silent. It was the first time she had ever chewed him out to defend me, but I didn't feel a flicker of gratitude. Only bitterness. I think I must be sick. Lydia's mother, trying to break the tension, changed the subject with a smile. She asked me with concern, "Jason, now that you're out, we should get your and Lydia's wedding on the calendar. I've looked at a few dates. You can pick one later. We'll choose the perfect day." Lydia's father chimed in, "That's right, we need to pick a good day. We can't be careless about this." Then he turned to Lydia with a serious look. "After you're married, you better treat Jason right. If you don't, I'll be the first one to come after you." Lydia smiled and promised, "Yes, Dad. I'll be good to Jason from now on. I won't let him be sad." "I'm sorry." My sudden movement cut her off. I knelt before Lydia's parents. They gasped in surprise. "Jason, what are you doing, child? Whatever it is, we can talk about it. Don't just get on your knees, son." But I bowed my head to the floor 3 times, repaying them for all the years they had raised me. "Mr. and Mrs. Vance, please forgive me, but I can't marry Lydia. I don't have those kinds of feelings for her." "Jason," Lydia called out to me. A flash of pain crossed her eyes. "You don't love me anymore?" "Maybe I did once, but not anymore. Not at all. Now all I feel is repulsion and a bone-deep chill." "Lydia, I never loved you. If I ever gave you the wrong impression, I'm sorry. I'll change." "Who asked you to change?" "You don't have to change," Lydia snapped, her eyes turning red. But the sight just felt glaring to me. I heard my own voice, firm and clear. "Lydia, I've paid my debt to you." "I know." Dinner ended in a tense atmosphere. Lydia went upstairs early to rest. I saw her stumble a few times on the staircase. Everyone thought I was being ungrateful. So many people wanted to marry Lydia, and I had just rejected her in front of everyone. Even when I ran into Evan downstairs getting a glass of water in the middle of the night, he acted like I'd hit the lottery. "Jason, who the hell do you think you are? You do 3 years in prison and think you can just marry Lydia? What more could you ask for? You think you can do any better? If you're so unhappy about it, why don't you marry her?" I poured myself a glass of water, downed it in one gulp, and scoffed. "It's just 3 years in prison. Why didn't you go yourself? Maybe then you could have married her." I didn't want to deal with him anymore. I just wanted to go back upstairs to my room and rest. But Evan clearly wasn't done with me. He continued his taunts. "You think everyone's like you? In love with their own guardian. Shameless." I turned around, almost laughing in anger, and looked into his venomous eyes. "And you being in love with your own sister is any less shameless?" Evan was furious. "You?" He thought he had hidden it so well, but he was full of tells. I hadn't wanted to talk to him, but I couldn't suppress the rage inside me. Even though there was nothing I could do to him, I couldn't help but want to knock him down a peg. "I'm not Lydia's officially adopted son, but you're her officially adopted brother." Evan's adoption into the Vance family had been publicly announced. The Vances acknowledged him with all due honor, claiming he was their long-lost son. He was given a certain percentage of shares in the company. From then on, the Vance family had another son. It was a promise Lydia's father made to compensate for the fact that Evan's father had died saving his daughter. Evan became Lydia's official brother, and in many things, she gave him a long leash. But Evan was in love with Lydia. He didn't want to be her brother, but that's all he could ever be. He always knew I loved Lydia, which is why he could never stand me. He targeted me constantly behind her back. I was back in my room changing when I heard Lydia knock on the door. I thought she was angry, so I was surprised she came to find me. "Jason, are you asleep? Can I talk to you for a minute?" "Not yet," I answered softly. The door was unlocked, so Lydia walked right in. I instinctively stood up, my body stiff, my hands hanging uselessly at my sides. It was a subconscious defensive posture I'd picked up in prison. Lydia's voice was gentle, no longer as cold and distant as it used to be. "Jason, I warmed up some milk for you. It'll help you sleep better." "Thanks," I said, taking it awkwardly. But the moment my fingers brushed against hers, the cup slipped from my grasp. Milk splashed on the floor, and the glass shattered. I immediately crouched down to pick up the pieces. I kept apologizing. "I'm sorry, Lydia. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." Tears started streaming down my face without me realizing it. Lydia pulled me into her arms, holding me tight. Jason, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I gradually calmed down in her embrace. I tried to push her away, but she grabbed my arm. I was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, so Lydia easily saw the scars on my arms. Jason, what is this? It's nothing. I just scratched myself by accident. I tried to block out the painful memories. Jason, tell me, who did this? Don't. My thoughts spiraled into chaos, and I started babbling apologies. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Please let me go. I don't love Lydia anymore. It hurts. It hurts so much. Jason, you're awake. Do you want some water? The next day, I woke up in a cold hospital bed. The moment I opened my eyes and saw Lydia, I instinctively shrank back into the corner. I tensed up defensively. Why am I here? Lydia looked down at me, her eyes filled with guilt, her voice hoarse. Jason, you fainted yesterday. I brought you to the hospital. I didn't dare look up at her. I was afraid she'd ask about the injuries on my body. The other inmates had done it. Their families had taken money from Evan. A lot of money. Enough to set their families up for life. Enough to make them give up years of their sentence just to torture me. It wasn't easy to bribe people in prison, especially those who were close to getting out. For them to give up their chance at freedom just to torment me, it must have been a huge sum. And all of Evan's money came from the Vance family. But his spending wasn't without limits. Any extra cash had to come from Lydia. I wanted to believe Lydia wouldn't let someone do this to me. But when everyone inside was calling me disgusting for being in love with my guardian, my will was worn down again and again. I wanted to believe she didn't know. But with every day she didn't visit, I fell deeper into despair. Lydia's words shattered the belief I'd clung to for 3 years. She apologized to me. Jason, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Evan did so many terrible things to you. Don't worry. I won't let a single one of the people who hurt you get away. This morning, I already notified the police. Evan's been taken into custody. And the ones in prison who hurt you, I'll make sure they never get out. I looked at her, shocked. You didn't know? I thought you knew. Then why didn't you ever come to see me? Jason, believe me, Lydia said, reaching for my hand. I subtly pulled away, and her expression faltered. Jason, I would never do that to you. But you never came to see me. Not once. I finally asked the question that had been buried in my heart for 3 years. Lydia looked at me, her eyes full of pain and guilt. I'm sorry. I couldn't face you. So that was it. But it didn't matter anymore. I still had things I needed to do, and I didn't want to keep talking about this heavy subject with her. So I just asked, when can I leave the hospital? Seeing my attitude soften a little, a hint of a smile appeared on Lydia's face. Jason, you can leave right now. You just got back and you don't have many clothes. How about I take you to the mall? Okay. Lydia asked for my opinion, and I gave a faint nod. There were a few things I needed to buy, too. She took me to the biggest mall nearby. For someone who usually hated shopping, she was surprisingly patient. Any item of clothing I glanced at for more than a second, Lydia had them wrap up everything. Before I knew it, she had bought me a mountain of clothes, but it all just felt like a burden. I couldn't feel happy at all. I knew I was sick, very sick, and I might never get better. I wished I could turn back time, back to before I ever met her, this amazing woman, and before she ever saved me. Then there wouldn't be all this resentment between us. As Lydia and I left the mall, a group of 5 or 6 middle-aged people came storming toward us. They were carrying vegetables and eggs, and the moment they saw me, they started throwing them right at me. They screamed curses. You murderer! Why don't you just die? Give me back my daughter. Give me back my daughter. I understood. They were the family of the person Evan had killed. The eggs they threw splattered on my head, and the sticky, foul-smelling yolk ran down my face. Lydia tried to shield me, and her own body was pelted with vegetable leaves and rotten eggs. But all I could hear, all I could see, was that winter night 3 years ago. The victim covered in blood, and Evan telling me to take the fall for him. My memory was filled with the curses and scorn of the men in prison. So young and already chasing after your elders. Shameless. I wonder how your parents raised you to be so messed up. You probably ended up in prison because you were such a screw-up. Man, if I had a son like that, I'd rather be dead. Raise him all this time and he turns out to be a disgrace. A pervert. A kid that young in prison can't be any good. He's just like the rest of us. My 18th birthday became my permanent nightmare. The vibrant Jason I used to be died that winter. I don't know how Lydia got me back to the car. When I came to my senses, I realized I had gotten her car dirty. My clothes, Lydia's seat, they were all covered in rotten egg whites and vegetable leaves. I'm sorry, I got your seat dirty. It's okay, Jason. It's not dirty. I'll have someone clean it later. She was lying to me. It was so dirty. So dirty. For those 3 years, they were just like this, pouring their leftover food on me, the soup dripping down my pant legs. Those 3 years were just as filthy. Ever since then, the sight of food makes my stomach turn. The warden said I had the tastes of a rich kid and was a picky eater. The inmates said I was sleeping around with other men. Rumors spread like wildfire. After that, everyone who saw me would judge me. During yard time, everyone would stay far away from me. Don't touch me.
I'm dirty.
I instinctively flinched away when Lydia tried to wipe my face with a tissue. She pulled me into a painful hug, stroking my hair. She soothed me over and over. Jason's not dirty. Jason is the cleanest boy in the whole world. A kind lie like that didn't make me happy at all. If only it were true back then. How nice that would have been. I couldn't help but break down, sobbing, my heart aching so much I could barely breathe. I clutched Lydia's collar. You're lying to me. I'm sorry, Jason. I was wrong. I'll never lie to you again. Okay? But it's too late. It's too late. Lydia wiped the tears from my eyes, kissing my cheeks over and over. Jason, don't cry. I was wrong. I'm sorry. After that day, Lydia took me to see a therapist. The doctor said my condition had gotten worse. Lydia didn't want me to know, but I overheard them talking. The doctor said I needed the companionship of family right now, so Lydia started spending every day with me. She was no longer busy with work and rarely away from home. Even when she had to go out for work, she would take me with her. Now that Evan was gone, there was no one to bully me anymore. Lydia would tell me bedtime stories every night and watch childish cartoons with me. When I got teary-eyed watching a TV show, she would be sad with me. When I laughed, she was happier than anyone. It was as if her emotions had become linked to mine. Everything was so perfect it felt unreal. I knew she was trying her best to make it up to me, but unfortunately, not everything in this world can be fixed. Some things, once they're gone, are gone for good. One day, Lydia had to go on a business trip. She didn't feel comfortable leaving me alone, but she also seemed to be doing something she didn't want me to know about. To make it easier for her to leave, I pretended I was fine and would wait for her to come back. The doctor also said my condition was improving and she didn't need to watch me so closely. Only then did Lydia relax a little. She gave me some instructions, cooked enough food to last a few days to make sure I wouldn't go hungry, and then left for her trip. That night, I woke up with a start, a little hungry but not wanting to eat a meal. I decided to eat an apple and go back to sleep. As I was peeling it with a fruit knife, I accidentally cut my hand. I watched the blood well up from my finger, and for the first time I didn't want to stop it. A thought flashed through my mind. Maybe it would be better to just die. But it was only there for a second. Then my best friend, Milo, snatched the fruit knife out of my hand. You want an apple? I'll peel it for you. He frowned and yelled at me. Jason, what are you doing? Do you have any idea what you're doing? Why would you do something so stupid? Don't you know how hard it was for us to survive? Why are you trying to throw it all away? I stood there, frozen, like a child who'd been caught doing something wrong. He was right. Why was I giving up? How could I do this to Milo? He'd almost gotten his leg broken trying to save me once. We had fought so hard to live. Why was I doing this? I felt a wave of guilt. I hesitantly reached for his hand. Milo, don't be mad. I won't do it again. Okay? Milo's expression finally softened. He gently patted my head and chuckled. You idiot. I'm not mad anymore. Come on, let's get you to bed. I followed him into the bedroom like a shadow, obediently got under the covers, and looked at him without blinking. I smiled. Milo, you got handsome again. He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes gentle as he teased, Duh. When have I ever not been handsome? He was right. Among our group of orphans, Milo was the most loyal and the best to me. Jason, what are you doing? I was chatting with Milo when Lydia called. I pulled Milo closer so he was in the camera's view and said to Lydia, I'm talking with Milo. Thanks for sending him over to keep me company. Lydia's expression was a little strange. You're welcome. As long as you're happy, Jason. I was worried about you being alone, so I asked him to come over. Even though there was so much distance between us now, this time I was truly grateful to her. I hadn't talked to Milo in so long. I said softly, thank you. Lydia smiled, but her voice sounded a little off. Jason, you never have to thank me. Ever. Yeah. I gave a bitter laugh. Lydia suddenly asked, Jason, did you watch the fireworks with your friend tonight? I nodded. We did. They were beautiful, so bright. The fireworks in Port City during the New Year's season were always a magnificent spectacle. After a moment, I thought Lydia had fallen asleep, but then she said, Jason is as bright as the fireworks, too. An eternal spectacle. You already know I'm not, I said. A strange silence fell between us. Lydia's voice was hoarse. Jason. I knew she was about to apologize again, so I quickly hung up the phone. I was terrified of hearing her apology, as if it would erase everything that had happened between us. Lydia wanted to go back to how things were, but I couldn't. We were even now. She didn't need to apologize, and I didn't want to hear it. That night, with Milo by my side, I had my first good night's sleep in a long, long time. When I woke up, Lydia was downstairs packing. I hadn't expected her to be back so soon. I pulled Milo along to say hello to Lydia. She came up and ruffled my hair. Jason, you're awake. Let's go on our trip together. I didn't want to go out, but Lydia wouldn't feel right leaving me alone. I had to beg her. I want Milo to come with us. Can he? Yes, of course. Anything you want, Jason, Lydia said with a small laugh. The three of us went to the airport together. On the plane, I couldn't stop talking to Milo, as if I had to tell him everything I'd seen and heard all this time. We looked at the clouds outside the airplane window together and talked about the scenery. It was the first time I had talked so much, as if I had to get all my words out. Milo was always patient with me, listening quietly and responding to everything I said. Lydia sat quietly beside us, her gaze gentle. After we landed, the crowd was thick, and I got separated from Milo. I started to panic, pushing through the people, desperately searching for him. Suddenly, I saw Milo near the road. He was smiling gently at me, but no matter how I tried, I couldn't catch up to him. I kept running, yelling for him to stop, but Milo didn't listen. He ran into the middle of the street and was hit by a car, covered in blood. Jason! I heard Lydia shout my name from behind me. Before I could react, she had grabbed me. I cried, screaming at her, Quick! Save Milo! He can't die! Please, save him! People around us were pointing and whispering. I slowly made out their words. Is this guy crazy? Trying to get hit by a car. Yeah, he must have some mental problems. Didn't you hear him say someone got hit? There's no one here. He must be an idiot. Stop it, stop it. Didn't you see the look on the woman's face next to him? Like she wants to kill us. Let's get out of here. I looked again at the spot where Milo had been hit and saw that there was no blood at all. Milo had never been there. It was all a hallucination. Milo was already dead. He had died when I was 10. He was trying to save me, his leg was broken, and he bled to death. It was all fake. I was the one who wasn't normal. Milo died because of me. He never recovered after they tried to save him. I was still clinging to a sliver of hope that he was alive. Lydia, is what they're saying true? Lydia covered my ears. Jason, don't listen to them. You're perfectly normal. Milo isn't dead. You just saw wrong. I told Milo to go home first. When you get back, you'll see him. Just be good. Okay? I knew she was lying. My body was getting weaker. I was starting to have hallucinations. Lydia didn't know that she had a tell. Whenever she lied to me, She liked to cover my ears, but I could still hear everything. In the end, I went with Lydia to her business destination, the headquarters of Vance Corporation. Lydia always seemed to like coming here for her trips. Worried about me, she postponed her meetings this time. She didn't go anywhere at night, staying with me the whole time, but I didn't want to be with her. I thought that with Milo I wouldn't be an orphan anymore. We could leave this place together and live a good life somewhere else. Place with no Lydia, no Evan. He would always be my best brother, and I would always be a good brother to him. But all of that was shattered. Felt like nothing truly belonged to me. I couldn't hold on to anything, and I couldn't get anything. Just like how I loved Lydia, but ended up in prison for her. I wanted a family, but Milo died because of me. In the end, it was all just my imagination. That night, as I was drifting in and out of sleep, I heard Lydia on the phone with the doctor. Jason's condition has gotten worse. He started having hallucinations. Doctor, what should I do? I saw her cover her face in anguish, sinking to the floor and sobbing. It's all my fault. Every time Lydia apologized to me, it made me miserable. Just like in the past, her apologies always came with bad news. When Evan stole my toys, she would say to me, Jason, I'm sorry. I'll buy you a new one. Okay? When Evan would call and pretend he couldn't catch the bus and couldn't get home, Lydia would drop everything and leave me to go pick him up. That day, I didn't have an umbrella, and it was pouring rain. I waited for her under a crumbling wall until late at night and came down with a high fever. She apologized to me again. I'm sorry, Jason. It was my fault. Lydia compromised for Evan so many times, but never once for me. She always said it was her fault. She was always sorry. But what I really wanted to say was that it wasn't her fault. It was mine. Because I wasn't good enough, she could only focus on Evan. Because I wasn't good enough when I took the fall for Evan, she didn't defend me. But this was what I owed her. Lydia was so cruel. She saved me, only to push me into one difficult situation after another. Sometimes I wished I had just died the year she found me. I wouldn't have fallen in love with her, and I wouldn't be in so much pain. During those 3 years, I hoped so badly that she would come to see me. That would have given me the strength to keep going. I wanted so badly to tell her that everyone was bullying me, to beg her to save me, that I couldn't take it anymore. But she never came. Not once. The next day, Lydia had to go to a meeting. She didn't feel comfortable leaving me alone in the hotel. Only after I promised her again and again that I wouldn't go anywhere and would wait for her to come back did she finally leave. Lydia didn't believe me. She was afraid I'd do something stupid. When she left, she deliberately locked the door from the outside. She also had someone remove all the sharp objects from the room and even had cameras installed in our suite. But she didn't know that before I went to prison, I was a top student at Columbia. None of this could stop me. After she left, I typed out a message on my phone with some things I wanted to say to her. Lydia, I wish you all the best. If there's a next life, I hope we never meet again. I don't hate you for making me take the fall for Evan. That was my debt to you. Now we're even. After I'm gone, don't look for me. You don't need to put up a headstone. I just want to leave quietly, alone. This is my last request. Thank you. I disabled the hotel's security cameras and went to the riverfront. This was where Port City's highest bridge was, and it was also where Lydia had found me. I stood at the edge of the bridge, looking at the churning water below. The evening wind whispered in my ear, Jason, jump. Jump and the pain will be over. No one can ever make you sad again. No arrogant Evan, no vicious prison guards, no one throwing rotten eggs at you, no malicious inmates, and no Lydia. Let all the people who wished you were dead get their wish. The day Jason died, he saw the thousands of lights of Port City. He saw the festive decorations on the Vance Hotel. He saw Lydia running toward him. He heard her say, Jason, don't. But he was tired. He was tired of this malicious world. That day, he jumped from the high bridge. He was only 21 years old. Lydia's epilogue. The day Jason died, everyone said the heiress of the Vance family had gone mad. She spent 100 times, 1,000 times, even 1,000,000,000 times more money than Evan ever had to bribe the people in the prison. She had them do to Evan everything they had done to Jason, thoroughly and completely. And she gave one order: don't let him die, but make sure he's broken beyond repair. The people took the money and, of course, worked even harder, following Lydia's commands to the letter. They didn't actually kill Evan, but they certainly made him suffer a world of pain, a living hell. Everyone said Lydia had shown her so-called brother some mercy. It wasn't until 10 years later, in the dead of winter, that people noticed the Vance heiress, not yet 40, already had white hair at her temples. Every day, she would go to the cemetery to talk to that boy, and she did so for 10 years straight. That day, people watched as she traced the photo on the boy's headstone, inch by inch. Her voice was as hoarse as an 80-year-old's. "Jason, this is the last time I'll come to see you." Later, people found out that 10 years to the day was when Evan was released from prison. He hadn't been tortured to death inside, but he was found dead by the river, alongside the Vance heiress. It was the same spot where Jason had died. Only then did people understand. Lydia hadn't shown Evan mercy. She was waiting to get revenge for Jason. In Lydia's suicide note, 2 lines were found. "If there is a next life, let me serve you hand and foot, just to atone for my sins and see you happy." At the boy's grave, people found words that Lydia had personally scratched out. "Jason, my husband." After Lydia died, the truth of what happened 13 years ago finally came to light. Justice may be delayed, but it is never absent. Jason's act of taking the fall constituted obstruction of justice. In the end, Lydia and Evan both paid for their actions with their lives. Jason's epilogue. The year I met Lydia, I was 10, picking through trash to find something to eat. I had never known any kindness in this world. The only person who was ever good to me died because of me. From as early as I can remember, I was an existence that even dogs would scorn. The thing I did most every day was beg by the river. One day, a rich person came to the spot where I usually begged. She dressed differently from any of the other rich young ladies I'd seen. At the time, my only thought was how beautiful she was. Just a little cold, with a stay-away air about her. But she was generous, the most generous person I'd ever seen. Even when the beggars got her pants dirty, she didn't care at all and even bought them a lot of food. I looked at my own dirty clothes, my dirty fingers, my bare feet, and for the first time I felt ashamed. For the first time I was too embarrassed to go up and ask for money. For the first time I didn't dare to look at someone, until a pair of clean, slender fingers took my hand. That winter, I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. Her voice was beautiful, her tone gentle. That day, her long, fair fingers wrapped around my hand, and she asked, "What's your name?" I answered, "Jason." She said, "That's a nice name. Do you want to come home with me?" I looked at her beautiful face, smelled the lovely perfume she wore, and nodded. That day, I went home with Lydia. Her family was decent enough to me, but Lydia was the best to me. She taught me how to bathe, she taught me how to read, and she sent me to school. She taught me so many things I had never been exposed to. These wonderful days lasted for a month, until her brother, Evan, came home for vacation. Anything I had, he demanded Lydia buy for him too. Anything she gave me, he would secretly take away. He had to be unique. He couldn't stand anyone having the same things he did. He would even sabotage strangers' things just to be the one on top. He put on a good act in front of Lydia, blaming everyone else for his own mistakes. At first, I thought Lydia didn't know, but that wasn't it. Lydia was just turning a blind eye. Lydia said Evan's family had done her a great service. It was then I began to realize that no matter how big a mistake Evan made, no matter how angry Lydia got, she would always give in. I just didn't expect my own crisis to come so quickly. On my 18th birthday, Evan killed someone in a DUI. He set his sights on me. My first thought was, this is absurd. But I forgot that even the most absurd thing can seem reasonable if someone is willing to compromise for you. The hardest debt to repay in this world is a favor, let alone the favor of saving a life. When Evan made that ridiculous demand for me to take the fall, Lydia hesitated. Because Evan's father had died saving her. And me? I couldn't say a word. Because I owed Lydia. Without her, there would be no me. I knew what Evan was doing was wrong, but there was nothing I could do. The scales of fate had never tipped in my favor. That day, I went to prison for Evan. I never expected that the scariest part wasn't going to prison, but the unknown horrors waiting for me inside. When Evan used Lydia's money to have people hurt me, I was in agony, but I couldn't hate Lydia. I just thought, finally, I don't owe her anymore. In those 3 years, I felt the coldness of human nature and tasted the world's greatest malice. After I got out, Lydia kept trying to make it up to me, but I couldn't get better. I wasn't willing to go on like this. I once promised my brother I would live a good life, but I really couldn't hold on any longer. In the end, I chose to end my short life on that river bridge. I don't wish for a next life because a next life isn't guaranteed to be good. I only wish to be left alone, forgotten. Lydia's confession. The day Jason died, I pretended to leave for a meeting. The truth is, I was going to plan our wedding. I wanted to take responsibility for him. Even though I knew he didn't need that responsibility, and he didn't want to marry me, I still couldn't give up my selfish desires. I had a very bad feeling when I left that day, but the joy of our upcoming wedding washed it away. I think God must have known about my despicable actions and took him away to punish me. That day, I locked myself in my room for 3 days and 3 nights. I hated myself countless times. Why did I let Evan's father save me? Why didn't I stop Evan? Why didn't I defend Jason? I hated that I owed Evan's father, that I had to clean up all of Evan's messes. I blamed everyone else, and only after I'd made the mistake did I realize the biggest fault was mine. It was I who caused Jason's death. It was me who owed Evan, but the one who took the fall was Jason. I regretted it countless times. Why didn't I take the blame myself? Or why didn't I expose Evan's crimes? But it was too late. The day Jason died, I saw the letter he left for me. He said we were even. He asked me not to look for him after he died. But I still went against his wishes and secretly had a headstone made for him. I wanted to engrave on it, Jason, my husband. In the end, I scratched it out. I didn't deserve his love, and he wouldn't want me to do that. He said he didn't want to see me in the next life. I know he didn't want a next life, but I was impulsive. I wanted to see him well. I wanted him to have a next life. So I went to the most sacred temple in Port City and knelt on all 999 steps, praying for him. I had the temple, which had fallen into disrepair, renovated in his name, wishing him peace and joy in his next life. He said he didn't want me to visit his grave, but I disobeyed that too, because I only have this one life. 10 years later, Evan was released from prison. I thought it was time for me to leave. I went to the temple one last time and made a wish before the Buddha. If he has no next life, then give him mine. If he has a next life, then let me atone for my sins. If he is unwilling, then give him all my good fortune and I will never appear before him again. I know this might just be for my own peace of mind, because no one knows what the next life holds. I just hope he meets someone good. I went to see Jason one last time. That day, I traced his photo with my finger for a long time, talking to him, trying to say everything I needed to say in this lifetime. Before I knew it, I looked at the sky, and it was already light. I had someone deliver a handwritten letter to the police, in which I confessed the truth about the DUI from 13 years ago. I know it all came too late, but the truth is the truth. I wanted to clear his name. I broke the law by covering for Evan. That was my mistake, and I admitted my guilt. After I had done all this, I went to find Evan. All our debts ended that night by the river.